Well, hey, and welcome to the review of the GWR passenger freight train set by Hornby. You chose this one to look at, so that's what we're going to look at for you right now. What's to say? Well, it is pretty basic, to be honest. You get a very, very basic 040 locomotive in this set. Just 2 wagons and then 1 little coach on the end. Now, it's all perfectly good and it gets you going, but it is basic. It won't be long before you want to upgrade or half of this and add new locomotives and add new track even. But it is a starter set, it does get you going, it is something to put on the track and get running, and that's quite nice. Also, with there being so few items of rolling stock, you should actually be able to make pretty good use of the included siding. For example, you could get the locomotive to dump both wagons and pull just the coach, or vice versa, so that's quite handy. What does it say on the box? The versatile, it is pretty versatile. These 040s are quite versatile. They're not very strong though. The versatile GWR 040 locomotive makes easy work of hauling the 2 open wagons. If you're not too sure what the 040 means, it basically means that there's no wheels at the front, there's no wheels at the back, and just 4 main driving wheels, which are the ones there. And the small coach around the oval of track with additional siding, which provides an area where selected wagons can be deposited and collected again as the train travels the circuit. Okay, it's maybe going on a little bit too much there. It is, as I say, very basic. You can do a little bit of shunting duties, can't you? But it's not very good, to be honest. You're going to have to get extra track and extra rolling stock. And on the back, if we just flip it over, you'll see that, again, it's basically Hornby's track pack system. So these are all the extension kits that they do, because they do want you to expand the basic layout. Over here you can still see the remnants of the original siding, which they just extend a little bit. That's basically what we were looking at just there. See, there's the siding, and you can see how it grows. But they also include another loop, and then of course there's all the buildings and the scenery and accessories and stuff. And it is a good system. I definitely do recommend it. If you've got youngsters that are just getting into this, or you're getting into this for your first ever layout, it's not a bad thing to do, because it's quite cheap to build this, to get this going, and it's a great way to practice ballasting and sticking in of trees and gluing together of buildings and kits. And you can of course customize it. You can put a supermarket there if you want to, and a pub here, and you can have this all as a paddock, and you can have just 1 loop or even 3 loops. It's up to you. So that is pretty good. I think that the curves that are included are 3rd radius, and then one of these extension packs you get 2nd radius. There is 1st radius. I wouldn't recommend it though. It's really quite tight. So you could put a 3rd loop in just here if you wanted to. Although it would be much better to include a 4th radius curve going around the outside, but that would obviously go just off the edge of the track mat, wouldn't it? So yeah, there's basically lots of information there on the accessories you can get to add to this and make it bigger. I do recommend you shop around. Definitely shop around. Prices for these track packs and the accessories can vary wildly, by as much as £20 in some cases. So definitely shop around. It pays to shop around. But there's not much else to look at or to read. It's not like it's an official train or an official service that used to exist. So there's nothing on that really. I think we need to open the box and see what you get inside. Well, it is a very nice box, and it is very easy to open as well, which is quite good, as I'll just show you now. The first thing to come out should be the bag of gubbins. Yeah, here we go. Let's just have a quick butchers through this. Most of my usual viewers and subscribers have seen me go through this stuff before, but just in case you're completely new to my videos or completely new to modern railways, I'm just going to have a very, very quick look at it for you. So here we go. This is basically what you get. So the first thing we've come to here is the Hornby Collector Club. This is run by Hornby, and if you join, you do get an exclusive locomotive, which I don't think you can get anywhere else. You also get sent like a little magazine called The Collector, and you get sent that as every 2 months, so you'll get about 6 issues won't you? But to be honest, the little Locomotive is again very basic. In fact, it's almost identical to that one there. It's a little 040. I think it's usually always a little 040, but sometimes they're nicer than others. So one year it might not be worth joining, but then the next year it might totally be worth joining. So you just have to see what the Locomotive is and see whether you want to join, basically. But it's an okay thing. The little magazine is quite nice. You get to look at people's layouts, and they sometimes look at a particular locomotive in depth, so that's quite cool. That's not bad. So yeah, that's that. And then you get this, which, well, here we go. Yes, it's the 2012 product range for Hornby. They've just recently started including these in their train sets, I think. And it's basically the Hornby catalogue, but in fold-up form. It really is. I mean, just look at that. Just everything listed. So it's not particularly exciting to look at, and I definitely recommend you still get the proper Hornby catalogue, because it's much nicer to look through. But everything that they do currently is listed here, and so that's quite a nice thing, I suppose. It's not bad. So yes, that's that. This is really quite useful. This is your little owner's manual. Again, totally aimed at people that are new to the hobby, that are just opening it for the first time, just getting into it for the first time. Lots of useful little bits of information in here, such as, well, if you can get it the right way up. Yeah, I was there already. So it very briefly covers baseboard construction, for instance, and then it talks about even on how to uncouple the wagons and how to couple them again. It talks about powering your track and where to put the power clip to make sure that, you know, all your sidings are powered and stuff. It's really quite nice. And there's a little thing here on the reverse loop, and obviously how to make sure it doesn't short circuit itself. So again, as I say, it's aimed at people that are brand new to the hobby, literally haven't got a clue, and it just gets you going. It gives you little bits of information and sets you up, and that's quite nice. But to the hardened veteran, they're going to know more than this anyway. But then why would the hardened veteran be buying this? This is your little registration card. So there you go, your Hornby warranty registration card. To be honest, it's such a basic and simple little train set. It's very doubtful anything would ever go wrong with it. But of course, if you want to fill it in and send it off, then that's there for you to do. This is quite useful. This is the maintenance sheet for the 040 Locomotive, as you can see just there. And as your train collection grows, so will your collection of these. Trust me, you'll get more and more of these for the different types of locomotive that they do. And it's useful because it shows you how to replace the motor, it shows you how to perform maintenance and servicing, and it even shows you where to add oil to keep it nicely lubricated. So it is a useful thing to keep hold of. What I recommend is buying like a little file and then hole punching, and then just basically keeping a whole stack of them in a little file or a little booklet or something. So yeah, that's quite good. This is new. This is something to claim your free copy of the Hornby magazine. I do recommend the Hornby magazine. I really do like it. I love how they flip between model trains and then real trains and then back to model trains and back to real trains again. And there's not too many adverts in it either, which is quite good. So I do recommend it, and apparently you can claim your free copy. So that's quite nice. And then of course finally you've got your track mats. So this is 1:1 scale. So literally if you bought that little Ford Sierra or whatever it is, that's the size it would be. So you can see where your track's supposed to go, you can see where your building's supposed to go. You don't have to use it, but it is quite nice. And it, as I say, it forms the basis of their track mat layout, which has become quite famous now. So you don't have to use it, but it's there if you want to. And that's it. That's your pack of gubbins. So let's have a look at the actual train itself. And the track. Do you know, it doesn't matter how many times I do that, it's such a tight fit every time. It's really quite hard to get it off. Okay, so, well, up in the top left corner here we've got your buffers. Now I do love these little buffers by Hornby. They are my favourite. And if you get a can of white spray paint and you know, set up some newspaper and stuff, you can make this look really realistic. Just coat the whole thing in white, and then just paint these bits all metal and rust them, and then paint these bits wooden. And you can even buy little red LED lights that sit on the top, like it's you know, a stop signal basically. And I just think they're brilliant. They're really nice. And then over in this little bag, we've got a couple of vacuum pipes. So this is vacuum tubing to be added to the locomotive, which we'll look at in a second. And it's really simple to do. Just cut it out of there, cut it out of the plastic struts, or I can't think what their name is now. But yeah, just cut it away, file it so that there's no rough bits, and then just stick them in. It's really easy to do. Down in the bottom right corner here, you've got your DC controller and your transformer. So this is what goes into the wall and cuts down, well, what is a British 230 to 240 volts, right down to, I think it's about 10 to 14 or something like that. Should say, oh, it says 19 volts even. That's quite a bit. Okay, so this is the DC controller that they are including with all their sets now, and it is good in that it does quite smoothly control your locomotives, considering they're still DC, because usually to get really smooth operation, the locomotive needs to be digital really. But this does do a pretty good job. However, it feels really tacky. It is really, really cheap, and it feels it. There's no weight to it at all. And the plastic does feel a little bit cheap. And even that button feels cheap. Although it's quite good that it locks when you start turning it. That's quite useful. So again, it does the job, but I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it, because you can upgrade to a fantastic, really high quality controller by somebody like GaugeMaster for about 20 or 30 pounds. So you might not find yourself using this controller for very long, but for however long you do use it, it will do the job. It should serve you pretty well, and you know, I mean, once you're finished with it, you can just put it in the cupboard as a spare, can't you? So that's that. And then here we've got your track. Now, Hornby track is fine. Pico track is the best, I think, but Hornby and Batman track is really good. It's made in China, but then, to be honest, the Pico track I think is made in China as well. It's just assembled in the UK. I'm pretty sure that the actual metal rails and the plastic sleepers are made abroad, but it's just that the final assembly takes place in the UK. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that's what happens. But this track is fantastic quality. It will do the job, no problem. Especially if you look after it and keep it clean, it should serve you well for years and years and years. So that's a whole rack, isn't it, of third radius curves there. And then you've got what is essentially half of a second radius curve, or what I like to call a point corrector. So if you can imagine your points being put in, you just put in one of those, and then bang, your siding is parallel again, so that's why I call it a point corrector. And here are your points, so these are the actual switch blades down here, and again the quality is fine, absolutely fine. The tightness of this curve here, this radius, is pretty unrealistic. It's nowhere near as good as Pico streamline points, for instance, which are really nice and gentle, but these are quite compact. They take up less space than the Pico ones, and so for that reason I do recommend them. And it's great for the whole Hornby track mat system. It's convenient. And then here you've got a couple of nice long straights. I think you've got a short straight, and then here's your power track. Now this is something Hornby started doing a while ago, and it really does make wiring up your layout dead simple. If I just bring the controller back in, you can see on the end of this that you've got a plug just here. So you just push these pins down, and bang, in it goes. And off you go. You just select a direction, turn it, and off it goes. And if you've got, you know, for example, the cable going underneath the track, or you've got the track like that, and you find that left is actually right and right is actually left, well, just simply swap it around. Take it out, put it in the other way, and you'll have corrected it. So that's quite a nice little thing. It does make it very easy to do. I suppose this bit here is a little bit unrealistic, and if you were making a serious layout you wouldn't want it, but then if you were making a serious layout you probably wouldn't be using one of these. You would just use a much more capable controller and then solder the wires to the bottom of the rails or something. But again, for a starter set it's fine, more than fine, does the job and will serve you well. So let's just put all that track to one side. So here is our rolling stock then. Let's have a look at the Locomotive first. This is a little 040 Locomotive with GWR lettering on the side, and it is basic. It has to be said, it's incredibly basic. Excuse me. Even the handrails on the side are just moulded. They are part of the moulding of the body. They're not actual proper handrails. But that keeps the cost down. It swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Because to include a really, really detailed locomotive would make the set more expensive, which wouldn't really mean it's a starter set, would it? And so fewer people might get into the hobby and the market might shrink. And without getting into all the business and economics of it and everything, it will do the job. It does the job. And they're usually really reliable as well. So the intention, the idea is that this gets you going and it gives you many hours of fun and enjoyment. But what you're going to do is go on and buy more, aren't you? You're going to go on and buy more locomotives, like this one, just out of shot. See, look at that. What a difference. But people start off with this and then they make their way up to them. That's how it works. That's how it's been for a long, long time. But it is basic. It's nice that they've included the famous GWR little bit of copper plating on the top of the chimney there. That's quite a nice feature. A very distinctive GWR thing, that is. But the buffers aren't sprung. They are just fixed, I'm afraid. And the couplings are huge. They are pretty unrealistic, massive tension lock couplings. But then again, having said that, this type of coupling is the best kind of coupling you can have if you have a tight layout. If you have lots of really tight curves, as this pushes or pulls rolling stock, a huge coupling like this will ensure that there's no snagging and that nothing derails. Whereas the really nice slim, the really compact, narrow tension lock couplers, they really do struggle with tight curves. They lock up and the buffers clash and everything derails and it's a mess. So it swings and roundabouts, but yeah, I mean, there's very limited detail on this model. I mean, they've tried, bless them. You can see where the water's kept here. There's a little bit of fake coal. There's a tiny amount of cab detail. There's a few rivets where there's, well, I assume there's supposed to be rivets. I don't even know if this is a real locomotive. I assume it's based, or at least modelled on a real locomotive. You might know better than me. If you do, please comment below, but I've never seen one, that's for sure. So, yeah, there we go. That's our little 040 locomotive. It'll do the job, just don't expect anything amazing. And then if we have a look at one of the wagons, just here, again, it's really, really basic, really basic, and it even feels it. You've got the massive tension lock couplers again, fixed buffers, and probably a completely fictitious operator, because this is an independent wagon, isn't it? But I've never heard of them. So it does the job. It's nice and lightweight, it's cheap, and it gets you going. This second wagon looks a little bit nicer. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Interrupted by somebody's house alarm. Typical. But yeah, this second wagon is much nicer. It still feels pretty lightweight and pretty cheap, and again, it's probably completely fictitious. But it does feel more realistic, and you've even got like rivets on the bottom and stuff and little bits of the braking mechanism, so that's much nicer. And then last but not least is what I think is it a coach? Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's a GWR coach, well, a GWR style coach. So it's in GWR colours, being chocolate and cream, which are gorgeous colours, by the way. Definitely a good choice there by the Great Western. And it's just a nice little four-wheeled coach. It's probably the most realistic thing in the whole set, to be honest. Little coaches like this did exist well over 100 years ago, They were death traps made of wood, but we'll gloss over that. They did exist, and they were nice little coaches, and they do the job. And you can even build up a whole collection of these very inexpensively, and it looks pretty cool, to be quite honest. So that's certainly the nicest thing in the whole set. It's not saying much, is it? It is basic, but it's a great little coach, and as I say, you can add to them really easily. So there you go. Third, first, and third. Just interestingly, there did used to be a second class, by the way, but it was basically turned into, well, it was dropped. There was a first and a second and a third, but second was just dropped, and they ended up with just first and third. It's really quite bizarre. So yeah, that's your little coach. And so we've had a look at everything in the set now. What I will do is clear some space, set up the track mat, and then set up the track and everything on the track mat, and you'll see what you get and how it runs and stuff. Okay, so there you go. As you can see, I'm just out of shot here, and I have set the track mat up. I'm just going to pan the camera ever so slightly. You can see it does take up quite a bit of room. There's not much left around the outside edge of this conservatory, so it is pretty big, but it does fit, and all you have to do is just keep doing that and flattening it out as much as you can before you put the track down, obviously. So that's what I'm going to do next. Just going to put all the track down, and then I'll see you in a second. Okay, so there we have it. The track is in place, as you can see. Look, it's not an exact fit, but it's pretty good. It's as close as I'm going to get, considering just how bumpy the track mat still is in places. But it's all in place. We've got the power track just here, which is where the controller is going to clip in, and then you've got the siding just over there in the distance there in the background. So I'm going to plug the controller in, get that all wired up, put the train on, and get it running. Okay, so with the connector in the way it's gone in, with the smooth side up, you can see my little controller just over here. The second I turn that, the light goes really red, and then when I turn it down again, the light goes off, just as you can see, maybe. I'll get a few close-ups for you. Right, so where's our little locomotive? The 040. Let's put that on just there. And I tell you what, I'll put maybe, well, I tell you what, I'll do something quite realistic, eh? How about I just set everything up in the siding over there? So if I just walk over to the siding in the background, I'm going to flip the points. We'll put the coach in first, right down the far end, and then we'll put in this grey wagon and the red wagon. So I think it's pretty much going to be as it is on the box. And then if I just come back round to where the controller is, right, I want the locomotive to reverse in. Oh well, just a thought. It won't have done any running at all yet. How about I just give it a little bit of a running in first. I'm always recommending people running their locomotives, and even with such a little basic thing like this 040, it's not going to hurt to just run the locomotive in and get it warmed up, especially if it's never done any running before. So even though I've just set that point, I'm just going to cancel it again. Okay, let's get the locomotive warmed up. Let's pick a direction. Any will do. Okay, backwards. That's fine. And there she goes. There's no need to go any faster than that. That's a nice warm-up speed, really. In fact, it's probably a little bit too quick. Yeah, that's brilliant. That's going to allow the oil that comes factory fitted to just bed in and get around all those cogs and teeth and stuff, and that's really good. So I'll just show you a few close-ups. Okay, so you've been running in that direction for a little while now, so if I just slow her down again, flip direction, and then send her forwards. Again, not too fast, not too slow, and cue the close-ups. Okay, so again, she's been running in that direction for a little while now, so she's really nicely warmed up now. If I just stop her there, I'm going to get her to collect her train. So I'm just going to lean over again, flick that point, and she's going to go and pick it up herself and then take it off around the layout. So let's flip direction once more, and then just get her to back up. Nice and gently. Well, that maybe wasn't as gently as it can be done, but, well, it's done. And people will just have to expect a few broken goods and smashed bottles, maybe. Okay, so take it away, little GWR 040. Aw, brilliant. Just look at that. How cute is that? I mean, you've got a train set there. The only thing missing is the Christmas tree, the mince pies, and a drunk uncle in the corner mouthing profanities. It's Christmas. It's a typical train set. It's beautiful, really nice. And considering it's such a basic locomotive, it's actually got really good low-speed performance. If I just slow it down for you, watch this. Look at that. That's what I mean. Oh, actually, that's a bit too slow. There we go. That's better. This controller, even though it's really cheap and really basic, it is very good at making these DC locomotives go really slowly, really smoothly. Because as I say, with digital, you usually get great slow speed performance. But this new controller does the slow speed performance pretty well. I don't know quite how it does it. It's something to do with the current. Maybe it's just making more current available. I'm not too sure. But it does do a pretty good job. The track is moving. We've got a landslide. We've got a major subsidence issue. We're going to have to get Network Rail out. Oh well. It'll do for the purposes of this video. Okay, I'll give you a few close-ups again. So there we go. There you have it. That's the Hornby GWR passenger freight train set. It's basic, but it's fun. It genuinely is fun. This is how I got back into the hobby. A simple little train set like this ended up costing me about £10,000 because of all the other trains I bought after it. And that's the key. That's the magic. It's brilliant. I just can't wait to upgrade it now and expand it and buy more locomotives and some passenger coaches maybe, nice big ones, you know, and put some more sidings in and some buildings. And it's not bad at all.